Guys, and welcome to another episode of the Gimbal and Orange Show. Tonight we have no video. I'm sorry, my internet seems to be having problems. We had a giant storm and it seems to have cleared up, but the internet is not cooperating yet, so you will get a picture of a cute puppy from me today, which I think is better anyway. But tonight we're actually we're doing something really cool. We're taking our first big step into what we've been talking about now for a month or so, which is cross-community communication. We're doing that by talking to Xenoq and Tezasaurus from the CS and EVE scenes, respectively. Xenoq, maybe just starting with you, can you give everyone an introduction of yourself? Tell us some of the stuff you've done with CS and video editing.
Hello, my name is Marcus Anderson. Mostly known from the Counter-Strike scene, for making gaming movies, about CS 1.6. Right now I'm doing my internship at EA DICE, where I work with Battlefield and doing trailers and promotion for the Battlefield franchise. And I'm really looking forward to making movies for CSGO. Yeah.
Perfect. There's a lot we got to get into there, and apparently I'm looking at the stream. I'm not a cute puppy. I'm really sad now. Oh well. Sorry, I was very disappointed. Tez, turning to you. Tell us a little more. Tell us a little bit. Give us an introduction of yourself, and tell us about, what you do with Eve and test and the videos that you guys put out.
Yeah, so I'm Tez. I run the Test Alliance Ministry of Truth and Propaganda. We do lots of different videos and promotional stuff for EVE Online. Test Alliance Please Ignore is our alliance. We're the second largest in the game, founded by Reddit, which is the second largest corp in the game, which started on Reddit.
So can I ask you both, maybe this time starting with Tez, before we get into talking about your scenes, talking about the video editing and all the things that go into that, one of the things I'm curious about is where the love of video gaming first began. So Tez, do you remember what the first game was that really caught your eye, and then why it caught your eye?
Well, I started gaming way back when I was a kid, like really little. Pitfall on the Commodore 64. We had a Commodore 64 at our house, and but the first time I really got into gaming was the Descent series, which I followed from the first into Free Space, and that sort of pulled me into gaming. So I've always sort of been into spaceships and sci-fi junk.
That would do it. What did you like so much about Descent? Like, why did it catch you?
Well, at the time there was nothing else really like it. It was the full 360-degree 3D game. It was sort of like a puzzle game too. It was mazes, and it wasn't just Twitch gameplay. You had to use your head. I played stuff like Myst a lot too. Everything that I really like, games that have multiple layers to them.
That would fit well with Eve. That makes a very nice transition. Xenoq, I'm curious about you. You eventually ended up with CS, but going back before that, was there a game before Counter-Strike that first got you into gaming?
Yeah, there was a lot of games before Counter-Strike. I think the first one that really caught me on PC was Dune, if you remember the old strategy game. You can hear me, yeah? Oh,
yeah.
good.
Yeah. No, that's that was a little while ago.
Yeah, it was a really old game, and after that it was like Red Alert and stuff, and Command and Conquer. And then Half-Life came out, and I really liked Half-Life. And then I heard about this mod called Counter-Strike. That was way in the start, like when like the beta 1.0. When I don't think there were even teams. It was like a deathmatch game back then. But that's when I started playing it, and I played it on like a semi-professional level until I think 1.3 or something. That's when I really found. Well, then I realized that I'm never gonna be like a pro at this. So that's how I found the love for that game, at least.
Okay, so Wasso, I really want to ask you about real quick before I jump into CS. You mentioned Half-Life and obviously the mod. But what drew you to Half-Life? Like, what was it about Half-Life when you first started playing it that you decided, this is a great game. I really love this. I can get into this.
I think Half-Life was really ahead of its time. Like the graphics were really neat and the story was really great. It had a lot of potential compared to like other FPS games I've played before that. I mean, I played like Quake and stuff before, but when Half-Life came out, it was really, really like graphically appealing, and you could do so much, you could do so much stuff in that game. It was like it had a lot of depth. So.
Xenoq, when you mentioned playing CS at a semi-professional level and then realizing you were never going to be the best of the best, where in that that period of playing CS really heavily and very competitively, did you get interested in video production and making media content for a video game?
I've I've watched other Counter-Strike movies. There were some movies out, not that many, but like there were a few out. And after watching some of those, I got this idea because my younger brother was playing as well, and he was sort of as good as me, and well, he was really aiming for becoming like a pro compared to me. He played a lot and I didn't, so I thought, yeah, why shouldn't I start making movies? I mean, these guys have done these movies; they're pretty cool, but I think I can do better.
There you go.
So that drove me into creating my first movie. Do you want me to go in more on the movies? Or?
Yeah, well, I'd like to ask you about what that first movie was and what you remember most vividly about that first production.
All right. I remember my first movie didn't even hit the public because it was that horrible. I never released it. It was more like a fun movie for me and my brother to watch. I think I still have it somewhere, but I prefer not to watch it because it's really old and well, I made my first mistakes and there were a lot of mistakes. But anyway, you have to start somewhere, right? So I made my first movie about him. It was pretty short, like 3 minutes. Nothing special. It's just capturing from the console of Counter-Strike. Just editing together some clips where he was like fragging public clips and yeah, having a good time.
Can I ask you, when you were actually making that first video, and Tez, I also want to ask you in just a second about your first experience and how you got into video production as well. I'm just sort of curious because I've done a very little bit, but for me, whenever I do video production, it's when I'm in the moment actually working on the video, I think it looks really good, and I feel really like, well, not immediately, but eventually I get to a state where I feel pretty good about it, and then I actually watch it all the way through, and I say, wow, this is horrible. I mean, was that anything like your first experience at all? Like you felt really good about it when you were doing it, and then you actually watched it, it wasn't so stellar?
I think the problem as an artist, I prefer to say artist because, well, it's an art form to make movies. As an artist, I think usually you watch your video like a few hundred times before you like finish it.
Right.
And by then, if it's actually good when you watch it for the last time before you release it, then it's gonna be a good movie. But if it's not, then it's just gonna be another one of your movies. But you can really feel if it's if it's well done or not, because if you still like it when you release it, then it's usually a good movie. That's at least how I feel. I mean, the first movie I made, of course, it wasn't like this I can do. I always felt like I could do way better. It's only been a few times where I felt really happy and like that I've made something really good.
Right. Tez, do you have the same sort of feeling for your production that you know when you do a really good something, you know when it's good, it's good?
Yeah, I mean, every single video you put out goes through sort of a stress test when you watch it hundreds of times while you're making it. So if you're not sick of it by then you've got something pretty good.
Do you guys have videos that after you've watched them a couple hundred times you're still not sick of?
A few of them, yes, but most of them, no. Most of them, once I'm done, The only reason I'm seeing them again is because they start auto-playing when I'm checking the statistics on them or things like that.
I define watching. I mean, do you mean watching it like 20 times in a row, or like watching it once every month or half a year? Because I usually
Yeah,
watch through all my movies like once every year or something, like all
yeah,
of
I'll
them.
I'll go back
Just
to it to look for inspiration and stuff like that.
Really,
yeah.
what kind of inspiration do you guys get out of, or can come out of, or has come out of, watching your old videos?
Well, sometimes people really like certain aspects of it, like what the video is focused on, or maybe the style of music, and they'll want more of that. So I sort of look at that and try to find either music that's sort of similar to it, that matches it, that gets the same sort of atmosphere or vibe going,
Hmm.
or just certain things you can do. Like in Eve, people really like videos about Mars ships, lasers, and things like that. So I'll watch laser videos and try and get ideas for things you can do in the game.
Yeah. Uh, well, for me, every movie I've made pretty much has been like an experiment. Always like testing out new stuff and like what works, what doesn't work. And it, uh, I mean, since I haven't been making money, I mean, initially wasn't about making money at least, making movies, and then you could just, I mean, you could test anything. I mean, no one would say like, yeah, of course people would say like, oh, too much effects or too little, or oh, that's awesome, that's not awesome and stuff. So you kind of get confirmation on what works and what doesn't work. Uh, and I think that's a great way of doing it, because when you start working professionally, you really need to know what works and what doesn't work. So because as you're not doing a good job. Um, so I think having this period of like making all these bad movies and, well, see my good movies has been a really good process into developing a sense of what works and what doesn't work.
Hmm.
Can I ask you both, how much do you, when you put a video out there and you're getting community feedback, how seriously do you take that feedback, and are there certain parts of the community you weigh much more heavily, or their feedback that you weigh much more heavily than others?
Well, for me, I obviously weigh test feedback heavier
Right.
because the videos are for them. So if they don't like something, then I'll probably won't revisit it, or I'll try and steer away from it.
Right.
Uh,
Um,
yep.
for me, I think since I said everything has been like sort of experiments, and
Right.
I mean, of course you have to take every criticism. You can't take everything seriously, because some people are trolling and some people are just there to piss you off. but but
Right.
but but
Yeah.
somewhere in all those comments, there's usually stuff as well. I mean, people that actually like really liked your movie and want to comment and stuff. I mean, even if they liked it, they can still like dislike some parts of it,
Right.
and so I think it's very important to take everything like you have to take it seriously, but sometimes you just have to keep in mind that some people are just there to troll or stuff.
Right.
Yes. Sometimes you have to go with your gut feeling. Sometimes people don't even know what they'll like until they see it. Uh, I did two videos, one with My Little Pony mixed in, and another one with Kesha TikTok. And I made both of those expecting people to hate it, but I just didn't really care. And they turned out being two of the most popular videos I made that people want more of.
I remember
So sometimes
yeah, just a
sometimes you
side
surprise people.
yeah a side track here. I made um, I made three World of Warcraft movies. Just well, I've been playing that game like a lot, like 6 years.
Right.
And my old guild, we raided really hardcore, and like next round was at 60 and stuff. There was a boss called Hagen, and during the fight you had to perform this kind of dance. It was called the dance. It's like you had to move from side to side, and I kind of made a joke out of it in one of the movies. Like I put like dance music and like party lights and stuff. So everything went from like serious mode to like party mode, and I was like, this was a complete gamble. I mean, I knew some people would dislike it, but it was funny because everyone liked it. Like, no bad feedback on that.
Huh. So, Tez, I still need to ask you how you first got into Eve and video making, but before I do that, I just want to really quickly ask this question because we're on the topic. Tez, you mentioned, and Xenoq, you went off this as well, this idea of the gut feeling that for certain things, you just sort of trust that you're on the right hunch. But how do you know that? How do you know that it's okay to trust yourself? Like, how do you know that you've had enough experience, or that you're good enough that you can do those sorts of things and you can get away with them?
Well, it happened after the first time. The first time I did it, I just didn't care anymore. I had sort of been getting sick of Eve. A lot of the drama. I mean, when you've got 8,000 nerds playing spaceship video games, there's a lot of drama, and it sort of gets tiring. So I made the Kesha video at a point when I just didn't really care if they'd like it or not. And then people did like it, and people were sending me mails cursing me out because they couldn't stop listening to Kesha. And that was when I sort of got the feeling that I think I can trust my gut on some of these things. I don't always have to seek out approval before picking a song or going with a concept.
Right. Xenoq, is it the same? I mean, you mentioned the World of Warcraft videos where you just sort of went on a whim and did something that you thought everyone's going to hate. After that, did you do more because you also talk about doing a lot of experimental things, a lot of experimental videos? Did you just sort of start to say, this feels like it's going to be good, so I'm just going to go with it, even if the community reaction may not be the best?
Yeah, I think what most people like, people who get into movies these days, like people who start now, they have all this technology, and like, I mean, it's easier to make movies today than it was back then, because it was a lot more work. Like, now you can just get a video editing software, and you can just throw up everything. It's gonna look great. You don't really have to do much. But I think the problem for those people who make movies today is that they haven't had this experience. They haven't had this test phase. I mean, it takes a few years to like test things out, and like, I have to agree with
Tez.
Yeah, Tez. Yeah, I have to agree with you on the gut feeling thing. I mean, you just have to trust yourself, what you're doing. I mean, it's your movie after all. I mean,
yeah.
For me personally, when I made movies about me and my brother, it was always about me and my brother. I didn't really care much about what other people thought, at least not in the start, because I mean, I made this for fun. I didn't really want it to become some big thing. I mean, of course it was nice that it did. It wasn't the plan from the start. It was just to learn and like to enjoy these movies together, and like, yeah. That was the original thought, and that's why I just kept going with my gut feeling, if you want to call it that.
Right. All right, Tez, can I ask you, because we got a little bit off track and we sort of jumped down the chute here before I had a chance to ask you, how did you first get into Eve, and how did that turn into making videos for test?
Well, I got into Eve like 3 years ago. I had played the trial before then, but I couldn't really get into it then. But I got back into it because I started reading stories about it on, like PC Gamer articles about the big heists in Eve and all the political backstabbings and everything that goes on behind the scenes in the game.
Right.
And that was always really appealing. So I got into it, and the first video I made was, I think, only a few days after Dreadit was formed. It was about a war we had with, I can't even remember the name of the people who war to protect us, some kind of vampires. But I had just been frapsing, and I just started mixing all the footage together in Windows Movie Maker, actually, which is a
Awesome.
not the best editor in the world, if you're not aware.
Best edit.
And my computer was also really bad at the time, so editing in HD was kind of a chore. Memory to properly preview the video before rendering it. So I just said, screw it, and rendered it and uploaded it to YouTube, and everything worked out. And since then, I've upgraded to After Effects and a better computer, which I actually won from CCP in a video contest. A test helped me win, really. I shouldn't say I won it, test won for me. Because they went and voted en masse for...
The power of test.
One of the worst videos I've ever made, yes. Never underestimate 8,000 nerds.
Well, so did you just, so you were practicing, but did you just decide... Did you just decide to do it on your own because you had this video footage lying around that you would put it together, or did someone ask you, or someone else express interest in having something like that, or?
Well, videos and movie making's always been kind of an interest of mine since, as a teenager in high school. Did lots of little, student films and stuff like that. So I've always been interested in that. And as far as the gaming industry goes, I worked in PR, public relations, a little bit. I did it for a startup video game review site that is now dead, but they got me to E3 a few times and stuff like that, so that was cool. So I've spent a lot of time watching video game trailers and movie trailers and things like that, so I thought that knowledge and the fact that I actually enjoy editing and telling a story or weaving together a flow with music would translate pretty well and mesh. And it seems to have worked out.
Yeah. Well, it seems to have worked out very well for both of you. Actually, I want to ask you about sort of getting in a little more into the process, and also, within that process, some of the highlights for you guys, things you enjoy doing most, and things you dread doing. But before we get into the specifics, I'm also a little more generally just curious if there's a particular video or producer that served as inspiration, or it's just sort of a little more general. I know, Xenoq, you mentioned you saw other CS videos and thought you could do better. Is there a CS video that you've seen and thought, wow, that's what I want to aspire to?
I think what made me start making movies was, well, just watch these simple movies called, I think they were called Super Players something. Mm-hmm. They were really, really simple, like pretty much like a white text called Super Players, and there was like clips together after. That made me think like, oh, I can do better than this, because this is like, well, there wasn't many great movies out then. It was like everything was really, really simple, but pretty much made in Movie Maker. But I had a friend who had the Premiere. So I had access to like some awesome editing software. So I thought, yeah, if I have this awesome stuff, then I can make better than this guy who makes it in Movie Maker.
Right.
But later on, like a year or two after I started, then I saw I think I saw a movie called Neo the One. It was made by Michael Waker, I think he's called. I think he works for Intel now, like making movies and stuff. He's really good.
Interesting.
A German guy, I think he is. But he was an inspiration because I really liked how he edited his movies. He had a lot of angles and stuff in his movies, like not only first-person clips, but also like very cool angles and stuff. So I think he was like a pioneer in the CS movie industry, if you want to call it that. So I sort of aspired. He was like an inspiration for me, at least. But there were of course other people as well who inspired me. But just one person who I think inspired me the most, at least.
Right. Tez, what about you? Is there, you talked about movie trailers, and is there anything in particular that you sort of, well, at least when you're getting started, or even now, that you look up to and say, that's what I would like to be able to achieve?
Yeah, when I first started out, there was a guy who made videos for Goon Swarm, our best friends in Eve. His name was Stalgren, and he had made a video. I think it was just titled Goon Swarm. You can probably search for it on YouTube. And it wasn't even a lot of particular interesting footage, but it was edited in a way and set to music that made it really interesting and fun to watch. And he had some other effects thrown in on it too. And that really inspired me to, push for making videos and put more work into it than Windows Movie Maker.
Right.
And my goal when I started making videos seriously for test was to get the Stahlgren stamp of approval on one of them. And it actually finally happened in February last year.
Congrats.
When we first took our first region, Fountain, in Eve, I made a big video for it. I think it's the longest one I ever made. It's like 9 minutes or something. Entirely too long like that. But he commented on it and said it was like the best Eve video he's seen in ages or something like that.
Wow.
And I sort of sat back and I'm like, all right, I'm done.
Life goal achieved.
And it actually shows because I only made 4 more videos in 2011, so I got lazy for a little while after that.
Well, understandably. We're already almost at half an hour here, so I don't want to. We could easily go on forever here about this, but I really do want to. I want to talk to you guys about yourselves, who you are, but I also want to talk to you about the process to sort of help us all. Those of us who don't do it, it'd be nice to better understand what exactly goes into video production. Before I throw that question to Xenoq first, I do want to tell everyone who's watching on stream right now live that they can ask questions in the chat, and probably in about 10 minutes or so, we'll get them asked. And we'll do as many as we can. Any questions we don't get asked in the first half, we'll ask them at the end of the second half as well. So any questions for Tez or for Xenoq that you have, whether it's about CS or Eve or video editing in general, be sure to throw them in there and we'll get them asked. Now, Xenoq, starting with you, I'm sure there's a lot of crossover, but how do you go about, or how did you go about making a video for Counter-Strike?
The process has always been different, but in the start, I refused to use fraps and stuff like that because I think it lowers quality. It's less work, but it lowers quality in the end result. So I didn't want to use that. So the process of making movies in Counter-Strike was pretty much you loaded a demo from a player. Like let's for example, my brother played a match, got a demo from it. He recorded him playing a game, and I get it. I load it. I find in this demo, I just find find a good shot, like where he takes out 3 people or something, and then I type some commands in the console just to like remove HUD elements like health and stuff, because some people kept that, but I didn't think it was necessary. So because I wanted a more cinematic look in my movies, so I only kept so you could see the weapon firing and stuff. That was the only element on top of the game. And then I type in some commands to make the game output like frames, like pictures. And then I used a program called VideoMac to put the frames together into a clip. And from there, I didn't have any sound in the start because it was pretty problematic to get sound from the game at the same time. I wasn't good enough, I guess. But after a while, after a few movies, I started using SoundForge to capture the sound. But then you had to sync it because you couldn't get audio and frames out at the same time, so you had to sync it like afterwards. And yeah, it was a painful process, but yeah. That's how you had to do it, at least in the start. And after that, it was just simple edit in the start. But of course, when you made a few movies, people started like getting interest for it. You got like maybe a few thousand on your first one, like 10,000 on your second one, like 50 on your third one, and then it started like escalating. And were more. They wanted to see more, like more effects, more cool stuff, and so I was like, oh, how am I gonna do cooler effect than I did in Vegas? Vegas was the software I was using the most
Right.
for the editing, but it was pretty limited when it came to effects. Like you could do some cool transitions and like you could change like the colors of the clips and stuff. We couldn't do much like cool stuff, so I had to learn After Effects. It was a bit problematic in the start. I didn't really understand how it worked. I just like added a clip there and I did something and it looked cooler. And
Can you clarify for us After Effects? Like, give us some
okay,
context.
yeah. After Effects is it's like a post processing program. It's like where you use it to make your footage look better, like cooler, and it's made to make um, like cooler effects than you can do in like a standard video editing software.
It's Photoshop for video, basically.
Yeah, it's Photoshop, but with movement. Yeah, pretty
Okay.
much. You can animate and like yeah. So I had to learn that to achieve a higher level of effects, and it took some time because I was completely new to it. So I just in the start I just did some simple things and well everything has a learning curve. So you just have to keep doing it and then you get better at it.
Right.
And and uh, and after that, people were even more like, "Oh, we want to see more." And I was like, "Okay, where do we go now? Oh, 3D. That's cool. We can do some 3D bullets and stuff." Because the bullet effect was always like, yeah. I just recently saw The Matrix and I was like, "Oh, this is cool." Bullet time and stuff. So I tried to learn 3D Studio Max. I didn't learn it that well. I did a few things in there. Some like stuff that I put in my intros and stuff. Some bullets that were like flying through the game.
Yeah.
But that was pretty much it. I didn't want to go deeper because 3D is such a huge area. I mean, it takes like a lifetime to learn the 3D
Yeah.
software. So that's pretty much where I am now. With my
Yeah, that's what I find so interesting about both of you is that um, Xenoq, I think I meant to say this earlier. I didn't want to cut in though. I think your mic may be a little close to you. We're sometimes getting some. It's not static, but it's like a breathing is like it's being ruffled somehow. So it's sort of cutting in between your words and making it a little harder to understand. Um, but one of the things that I'm getting from both of you that I find so remarkable is that video editing is well, as you get involved as you guys are, it's time consuming and um, it's not easy. I mean, it's not it doesn't have to be horribly complicated, but it takes a lot of time. It's very tedious, and you can make it as complicated as you want to. I just find it so striking that both of you just for fun, for volunteer work, for the enjoyment of the craft, sort of got into this sort of haphazardly, just out of a whim, and then invested so much time in this, and still are investing so much time. I find that really, really cool. Just what's come of that. And Tez, I'm curious if you can, go off of maybe tell us what you do and how Eve works, or how you go
Sure.
from Eve to a video.
Well, I use Fraps because I'm lazy and I don't care about performance problems. Also, Eve doesn't have any kind of, cinema mode, or it doesn't record battles and can go back and play around with camera angles or anything like that. Everything has to be recorded live.
Right.
They do have a test server if you want to do stupid things, but you don't want the actual consequences.
Mm.
But it still all has to be recorded live. Camera has to be manipulated live. You have to catch that shot at just the right moment. Your only other option is having multiple people recording
Right.
from different angles.
Do you do that, or have you done that? Where you have multiple people recording different angles?
Sometimes I have. We've done a few kind of gimmick shots. One of them didn't even work out, but we have done that a few times. I'd like to, get more of a structure in place to do it more often.
Right.
and actually maybe write a total narrative, but I'm also very lazy. So I'm pretty okay just treading water and having fun making videos of whatever actually happens to us in the game.
So do you? Because Eve is so different from CS. CS is, every time you load up a map, it's everyone starts fresh. But Eve is this dynamic, persistent environment where this narrative that the players create is constantly evolving and never ends, and it never just resets. So I'm curious if you got, when you're looking to do a video, if you get an inspiration for something and decide to try and record video and make that happen, or if sort of play off whatever's going on at the time, politics or warfare or faction warfare, and you say, "This is going on now. I'll try and make a video out of this."
Yeah, it's difficult to make a video when there's nothing really interesting going on, and luckily, our leadership is sort of keen on making sure there's always something going on, making sure there's always some sort of conflict or narrative for the players to get excited for and to log in for. Because we're terrible at the game, so we really just need as many people as possible to log in, so we can win by numbers. But
there you go.
But we've done pretty well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's an understatement.
But yeah, there's definitely you definitely try and follow the narrative because everyone in Eve can relate to that. It's all the same server. It's all the same story. So even if what we're doing is on the complete other side of the universe from people that may be watching it, they can still feel the effects of that in the economy or in their allies. So keeping with the narrative helps out a lot.
Can I ask you both, starting with Tez, in the process of coming up with an idea for a video to putting the video out there on the web, what do you guys enjoy most about video editing?
I like picking the music.
All right.
I think that's honestly my favorite thing. I'll spend hours just poking around, digging through YouTube, looking for something new or something kind of rare, under the radar to use. Sometimes I'll just go with something popular though.
Where does relative to your process, where does the finding the music fit in? Is that like one of the early stages after you've got the initial footage, or?
Honestly, it's pretty much an ongoing process all the time. I have a full-time job, so I can only log in so much and record stuff, and I can't really plan around that. So a lot of it depends on the footage I actually get. We had a huge battle just a week ago. I was at work for it, so no video for that.
Right.
But it's ongoing, and whenever I have some free time or if I'm bored, I'll be looking around on YouTube, just listening to music, and that's how I usually find the songs. Is I'm just listening to music and looking for new stuff to listen to, on my own time. And I'll hear something go, this could actually work really well for a video, and then I'll listen to it 100 more times, and then decide whether or not it is actually good for a video. And then I'll look at what's going on in the game, what footage I already have, what may be coming up that it might work for. So there's no real definitive start point for any video. It always just sort of springs up naturally.
Xenoq, I'm curious about you two. What do you, out of the entire process you described and the evolving process, what do you sort of enjoy most?
I think music, like it has said, is very important. That's usually the stuff you do first, because the music drives the movie, drives the emotion, it sort of decides which clips go where, pretty much. I mean, just by hearing a song, and usually the first thing I do when I plan on making a new movie is, like he said, listen through music like for hours, and then you find those songs, and usually I find songs that blend well together, like so they can drive the movie in a good way. and then usually like block everything out with like white text, like say that just so I can remember what I thought when I heard the song at this point, you know, like 1 minute into this song it's like it goes like that, and then that would suit really well here. And I really enjoy that because that's like how I planned the movie, but
Right.
usually it doesn't end up exactly like that in the end. But yeah, and also making the intro for the movie is the best part. Uh, I enjoy that the most, and that's why in the end I only started making only the intros for my movies. I usually let other people do like the frag parts, at least in my last 3 movies. I had a Norwegian guy, so he made the frag part for those movies because he was really interested in that, doing that part, and I was really interested in doing the intro. So I think intro and finding the soundtrack is the most interesting and fun part, because that's really where you set the mood for the movie and how it's gonna be.
So you like the intro the most because it's where it's set, because doing the intro allows you to set the pace for what everyone's going to expect for the rest of the of the movie. Okay.
Yeah, it's sort of like a book.
Yeah. Yeah. If the introduction for a movie is good, then you usually wanna see the rest. So it's the intro is very important, and I think the intro is where you can be more. For example, CS people in the start when the movies were really simple, like you only show the frags and stuff. I think people enjoyed the frags more because they were clean. Like there were no fancy effects, which some people claim to ruin the frags. I can agree to some extent to that some over editing and effects and stuff during the frag part of the movie can ruin like part of the frags and stuff.
Right.
So that's why I started doing intros instead, because that's where I can be really creative with effects and stuff. I can do the stuff I really want to do, while the guy that assists me on the frag part, he can do what he wants, but maybe he doesn't want to do that as much effects. Maybe work more with like timing and stuff.
Right. Tez, you were talking about describing it like a book, or comparing it to a book. Can you tell me a little more about that?
For writing, they usually say the saying goes that the first 3 chapters are the most important, or maybe it's the first 3 pages. I can't remember exactly, but the idea is that you hook the viewer as soon as possible.
Right.
So and like he was saying with intros, you have an opportunity to do some creative stuff with that and catch people's attention and get them to decide to keep watching, because YouTube makes it really easy to move on from a video quickly. So the second you lose their interest, they're out.
So do you guys think is it maybe more difficult? Are you saying it's difficult now to sort of keep everyone's interest, because you can't? It almost sounds like that's what you're saying, that you can't rely on just catching them at the beginning. You have to make sure that it's consistent throughout the entire production, because of things like YouTube. At any point, even if they got into it and enjoyed the first half, if the second half is sort of lousy, with YouTube they can immediately just leave. You have to. Does that sort of change the dynamic?
For me, it just means I'm making shorter movies.
Fair enough. Well,
I think I haven't ever thought of the length of my movies. It's usually, I mean, they always end up what they end up like. I mean, it's no. I don't intend to make like a 10-minute movie or a 7-minute. Usually, I don't like making short movies, but I don't really care how long they are. And to answer the other question about YouTube and stuff, when I started making movies, YouTube didn't exist. So the easy part was when someone downloaded your movie, they would watch it because they spent like a night or whatever having shit internet downloading a like 500 megabyte movie, which took like 4 hours or something. So they would watch it, but then the hard part was getting people to see it, like to get it fronted on all the good sites like Fragbite or all the Counter-Strike community sites. You had to know people, like you have to have done movies before, so people knew who you were. So I mean, everyone wants like content and stuff, but if you're like unknown to the community, it's pretty hard to like go to some admin or to like, oh hey, I made a movie. Oh okay. Maybe they don't listen to you the first time, but when they see that you've already made one, which was pretty good, then they probably expect the next one to be as good or even better. So then it's easier. Then
Right,
it just gets easier as well.
Yeah, getting your foot in the door.
Yeah.
Tez, can I ask you real quick, sort of going off what you both said? You mentioned one of the ways you deal with keeping people's attention is to play off their shorter, well, implying they, but play off their shorter attention spans, having shorter videos. Is that something that you do intentionally to keep the videos short, or is that just how they end up?
It's a little bit of both. When I pick a song, sometimes the song itself will be kind of repetitive, or maybe it'll have an entire, 30 to 45-second area where the music just doesn't fit, and I can't think of anything that I'd want to put in during that part. So I'll just open it up in audio editor and I'll just recut the song myself.
Gotcha.
So doing that cuts down the length too.
All right, I really want to wrap up this for a second before we go too long. I'm going to have to cut out half my questions here, which is fine. It's the usual thing. I do want to ask you guys, though, before we take a break, and then we'll give everyone a preview of the second half, because we're going on about 45 minutes here. If someone were, starting with Tez, if someone were to, is listening to this and is interested in seeing your content but hasn't seen any yet, what video would you send them to first?
Ooh. Boy. I'd probably send them to something more recent because I feel like the quality has been pretty good lately. I'd probably do the videos called Delve 2012, which was the kind of propaganda promotional video that we did for our big war in Delve, which didn't really turn out to be much of a war, but it doesn't really matter because it's propaganda. But I'd probably do that one. It's nice and short. It gives you a good idea of what's going on in the game. It informs people of the narrative and things like that. Sometimes my videos are really nothing more than music videos. Just these are pretty clips that I recorded. Here's some music I like. I put them together, enjoy. But Delve 2012 actually tells a little bit of a story. So I'd probably point them to that one.
Okay. And Xenoq, what about you?
I think I would send them to my most recent Jagan movie. Well, the movie about my brother, Jagan X3. I think I would send them to because it's the most recent one, and well, it's the best. I think it's the best intro I've ever made. In that, I didn't make the frag part, like I said. I do intro and outro for that, but I think it's the best. Well, the best intro and outro, so at least.
Right.
So, I mean, if I want people to watch like something that I've done, then I want them to see something good, obviously. So, but I think still the best movie, like in total, is still, I think Jagan X1 is the best one. It was the one that received the best feedback from the community, at least, and I still think it's the one that received the most amount of views. But I still think I would show them Jagan X3 because it's the most recent and most high-tech, so to say.
All right, perfect. Well, we will get those. I think we've actually already got let's double check. I think we've already got the e-video linked. So I think we've already got Tez's video, the Delve 2012. But we'll get both those up there during the break. We'll get both the links in chat during the break so that anyone who's watching live can check them out during the break and get if you haven't seen them before, get a sense of what both these two actually do visually. You can see it. We do have two questions I want to ask you guys real quick, and then we'll take a break. The first question being from Cranium92, which is, are you guys exploring the live streaming phenomenon? Maybe starting with Xenoq. Are you familiar with the live streaming phenomenon?
Yeah, of course. what was the question exactly?
But have you explored any of that? Have you done it yourself, or is it you found it interesting as another avenue for
Yes, I
video?
think yeah, oh, it's really interesting with live streaming. Myself, I'm been doing some freelance work for people doing live streaming.
Mm.
For example, DreamHack, I make video intros for their like gaming shows and stuff. Because well, intro is my thing. Like I'm really good at doing introductions for stuff and like visual effects and stuff. So they hire me to do introductions and stuff for streaming. But I think streaming is really, I think it's really here to stay. Um, it's becoming really big. And I think it's gonna take over in a few years.
Mm.
Most stuff is gonna be streamed. Probably gonna take over television someday as well. We'll see.
You never know. I wouldn't mind that. Tez, what about you? Have you done any streaming? Seen any streaming?
Yeah, we have. We actually have Test Alliance has a streaming channel on Own 3D TV, and I've actually let it fall by the wayside recently because I got really busy and I've been out of town a lot. But we have been working on kind of building up the live streaming base for EVE Online. There's a lot of people starting to live stream fleets or solo or small roams as they go around in EVE, and yeah, I mean, for me, I'm more interested in the different overlay stuff. Eve had the Alliance tournament recently, just like a month ago, and the whole time I was watching it, I was just looking at the overlay stuff and trying to figure out, oh, what's a way that we can kind of replicate this and kind of duct tape it together without official support, and could we do a player run Alliance tournament that the players stream? And so I've been sort of playing around with some ideas for that on paper.
Wow, that's a
But I definitely agree that streaming is only going to get bigger. I mean, the only thing really holding most people back is their internet, their upload capabilities. Most computers can handle encoding and uploading video. It's just their internet that is slowing them down and preventing a lot of people.
truth. Um, the second question we've got before we go to the break is from King Idra, and that is: does CCP support tools to help recording game footage like AutoHop?
Well, not really. Obviously, they encourage it. CCP is really interactive with the EVE community. They promote videos all the time on their Twitter accounts and on the Facebook page and things like that. EVE itself has some camera tools built into it called the advanced camera. On the surface, they're very simple, but there's actually a lot of really cool stuff you can do with it once you learn how it behaves and how to take advantage of it. But that's really the extent of it. I'm always bugging Divinian Test CSM candidate to get CCP to put more camera tools in, or Eve does this while I'm recording and it annoys me, make them change it.
Right.
Things like that.
All right.
I've noticed a few things pop up in the game that make my life easier now and then, so I don't know if it was intentional or not, but I like to pretend it is.
We'll say it is. We'll go with.
Yeah.
We'll say that you complained, and after enough times, it was finally fixed. It's
Sadly.
all due to you.
Sadly.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break at about almost the hour mark. When we come back, we're going to talk to both of them about sort of a little bit outside EVE and CS. We're going to talk to Xenoq about his work with the game Unmechanical, a little bit about his internship with Battlefield and his future with video production, especially related to the game industry. Tez, we're going to talk to him about what he does as his work, also where he sees his video editing with tests, how he sees that playing out in the future, especially with a job. And then we'll also ask them about their hobbies, the things they like to do when they've got free time, if they ever have any, and we'll finish up with the usual final four. So we're going to take about a 2 to 3 minute break, and then we'll come back for probably, second half's probably going to be about a half an hour. So we'll see you guys in just a minute. Yeah, all right, we're back, everybody. And I was doing very outlandish hand gestures, but no one can see me because my webcam isn't on. Oh well, maybe next week I'll do them as well. I'll do my dramatic 5 to 0 countdown. Before we go into the official second half and talk about Tez and Xenoq's sort of personal side, they're the side of them outside of video editing because it's still related to gaming, a lot of it. Xenoq, I know you want to talk about a community that you've been involved with that's really a CS community and sort of share some stuff about them.
Right. Yeah. After a few movies, I decided I wanted to create this. Well, I imagined myself having like a movie company. At least that was my dream to like run my own company. So I started Chillside, which was like a fictive movie company for gaming movies. I think I involved a lot of people in it. It was me from start, and then like just added on people that I liked. Like I watched other people's movies, and like, oh yeah, you're good, you can join. And so it kind of grew into becoming this huge CS movie community, where we actually started a site called chillsite.org, which doesn't exist anymore. Because well, after a few years running that site, we had a lot of people like, going in there and stuff, watching our movies, and but the CS community kind of died because the game was, I mean, the game is really old. It's 13 years now, and it's about to well, I hope CS:GO replaces it, but
Right.
Like all those years, like making the same movies, everything had been done. I mean, there was nothing you could do anymore with the game. Everything had already been done and everything had been seen. So I think people's interest in making movies in Counter-Strike it kind of got lost because the game wasn't updated anything. There was no new maps, no new weapons, no new tactics. Right. And that kind of makes every movie look the same.
Yeah.
So I grew tired, and since I grew tired, I think most of my teammates on Chillside grew tired as well. So
is there?
We put it to rest.
Have you guys sort of been talking about getting everyone back together for Go, or?
I think the best thing about Chillside is we're really good friends in real life. Most of us met in real life. Like we had this community get-togethers, have like a pizza, we would talk movies and like watch all our old movies on like a TV or something.
Nice.
It's really nerdy, but I mean, for us like video geeks, it was really nice.
Yeah.
And it kind of made us like grow, and we could share experiences in movies and like tips and tricks and stuff. So I think that really helped me as well to grow as not only as a video editor but as a person as well. I had a pretty administrative role, like helping people out, like helping them post their videos to get the news out and stuff.
Right.
So I helped a lot of young aspiring movie makers reach out to the world with their movies, and yeah, it's nice.
We'll sort of following up on that real quick. I said we could get this second half, but I always have more questions. Tez, I know it's a really different climate and just a very different environment that you're in with EVE Online, but is there any sort of is there that sort of same camaraderie or similar camaraderie among video editors and video producers for the different factions, or is it sort of you and you alone?
To some extent, I've talked to people that have made other videos, but it's mostly, politics gets so heated in EVE Online that even if someone in, an enemy alliance makes an awesome video, they'd probably don't talk too much.
Yeah.
I've talked to plenty of people that we're friends with who have made, videos. But no, there's no real huge tight-knit community like there is for like a first-person shooter, really. I think the whole Eve is real and politics and people buying into their own propaganda prevents that from happening to some extent.
Right. All right. Now we're gonna get into the second half. We'll start with Tez. Tez, can you tell us a little more about what it is you do when you have to go and pull yourself away from the keyboard?
Boy, that doesn't happen too often. Uh, I've got pets, so I like to go out and do things with pets a lot. Whenever I need to get some fresh air, I'll go to the dog park, take them around town, things like that. Uh, when I was in Minnesota, I'd always enjoy Lake Superior, but I'm in Ohio now. I'm pretty landlocked in my location, so a lot of my favorite things like kayaking and swimming, you've got to travel a little bit to get to.
Right.
Which I don't have a lot of time for, unfortunately.
Fair enough. Well, and you mentioned having a job. Is that a full-time job?
Yeah, it's nothing really special. I work at a Chipotle burrito restaurant. Kind of climbing the ladder there, but not too seriously because I'm probably not going to spend the rest of my life in Ohio.
Fair enough. So how much? So you're working at Chipotle, and then how much time does that leave you daily to do Eve or do video editing, and how does that normally break down for you?
Well, the nice thing about a restaurant is I work mornings, and there's a lot of pre-open prep for a restaurant. So morning shift get in a nice chunk of their hours before the restaurant even opens. So I finish my day out a little earlier.
That helps. And so the rest of the day is that, I mean, what's a normal day look like for you then? Is it spending a lot of time on Eve or the backside, the back end of Eve, or?
Yeah, a lot of Eve stuff that doesn't actually involve logging in. We've got lots of API stuff written up to handle so much outside of the game that leadership people don't really need to log in that much. We've got Jabber Chat, Mumble for voice, and Skype, of course. We've got tools for checking up on members and tools for different spreadsheets for all the different economic stuff. You've got Dotlan, you've got Intel Maps. You don't even have to log in to see where enemies are at in your space, really. So, but lots of Eve stuff. And of course, we have our forums, which are, when you're in a leadership position, is absolutely insane. We've got something like 70 sub-forums. There's a lot to catch up on whenever I come home from work, Eve-wise.
Do you see your video editing, at least, becoming something you want to try and do professionally, or do you want it to stay a hobby, or are you indifferent?
I'm actually torn because before video editing and film, my big love was writing, and I took a job at a newspaper, so I started to write quote unquote professionally, and now I hate writing.
Oh no!
So I'm worried because I love video editing. I love playing around with different programs.
Yeah.
But I'm worried that if it becomes an actual job and stops being a hobby, that it'll become a job and it'll be the thing I try to get away from instead of what I go to relax and have fun. So I'm weighing the pros and cons of that. I'll probably end up going for it though.
And do you have in your head an idea of what that would mean if you go for it? Like how you would pursue that?
Well, I enjoy working with game footage because there's a lot of freedom for that. If you start making actual films, there's so much overhead and logistics to it.
Right.
All the different tools that you use and all the techniques. It's something that I'm interested in, but I also really enjoy that with a video game, especially a game that gives you tools for camera and for making videos. I really like that simplicity and the freedom. It gives you more time to focus on coming up with stuff instead of worrying about how you're going to do it.
Right. Interesting.
Hmm.
Huh. Okay. So it's sort of not quite sure where you're going to go yet, and you're considering whether or not to try and pursue it as a career. But if you do, you would like to stick with sort of in the video game realm because it just offers you more freedom, more flexibility.
Yeah, and I've been a gamer since I was a kid. Uh, it's in my blood. I'm never gonna stop gaming. So
Right.
it just seems natural
Yeah.
to keep going with that.
I can't argue with that at all. Well, Xenoq, you've actually seemed to be taking the plunge. You seem to be pursuing that path already. Um, I want to ask you about the internship with Battlefield, but I do want to give you a chance to mention Unmechanical
Yeah.
and tell us a little bit about that and how you got involved in that. Because that's also what struck me is that's such a departure from. It's a puzzle game. I mean, I don't want to spoil it because you can give the full spiel, but a puzzle game was such a big departure from a first-person shooter. How did you get involved and interested in the project? And what is it,
Um,
first off, I guess?
to start off, um, if I started with my internship,
Hmm.
the reason I'm doing an internship now is because I've studied for 2 years. I've studied 3D, Maya, um, which is a 3D software, at a school called Future Games, and it's game education. So, so I started to become a 3D artist um, because I felt that I have mastered like After Effects and animating and like effects and stuff, but I was really lacking on the 3D part. So I figured I would study for 2 years just to learn more 3D in Maya. Uh, uh, but this wasn't really this education wasn't aimed towards film. It was more aimed towards games. But I figured it would make a difference because 3D is 3D. It doesn't matter what you apply it to.
Right.
But during this education, I started. We had this 4-week project where we made a game called Unmechanical. Um, and it was meant to be really simple because we only had 4 weeks, and it was to be presented in front of a jury. Uh, so we made it really simple. We used a lot of like 2D and like it was really limited. We could only use a certain amount of polygons and and like textures because well they wanted to limit us because didn't want us to like take over the world and like make a game that would look good and not
Right.
working and like yeah not being able to finish it
Right.
so they really limited us but when we presented this game to the jury they really liked it and they said yeah you guys should pursue this, you should really finish this game and like make a full game out of it. So we thought about it, and there was this gaming contest called Swedish Game Awards, and it was only I think it was 2 or 3 weeks to the end date to send in your games to the contest.
Right.
So we worked on the game for 2 more weeks, just polish it up and just add some more levels and like some more polish to it.
Yeah.
And then we sent it in, and we came second at that contest. But that wasn't a good thing. The best thing about that was that Epic Games, which is the creator of the Unreal Engine that we used to make our game, the game engine. They called us during the event and said, yeah, this game is really cool. We really like it, and we really like that you used our engine.
Wow.
So they gave us like a bonus prize
Oh
just
wow.
because they liked our game. So that really made us thinking. So
Yeah.
we had this teacher at our school. He also really believed in our game, and he said he wanted to help us finish it.
Hmm.
So together with him and some more classmates, we've involved some more people because since we were gonna make this full game, we needed more people. So we
Right.
ended up being around 10 people working on it. And then we finished it, and now it's on Steam. It's called Unmechanical, and yeah, it's around 3 hours of gameplay, and it's a side-scroller puzzle game. And it's also featured by Total Biscuit. Made a mention of it in his series where he plays through games.
Yep.
So that's pretty
BTF.
cool.
Yep.
Yep.
And Tez, have you had a chance to play the demo?
Yeah, actually I have. I really like it. It's a really cool game. It reminds me sort of a mix between Machinarium and Oddworld.
Yeah.
The atmosphere really
Yeah.
reminds me of Oddworld.
Yeah.
And the sort of aesthetics of it.
Yep.
But it's really cool.
I'm glad you liked it.
There you go. Well, if you,
I'll probably end up buying it.
yeah, it's on Steam. Nice and convenient for everybody.
And you asked Tom about the reason why a puzzle game.
Yeah.
But one of the things was that it was a puzzle game from the start. I mean, we wanted to make something simple. You can't really make an FPS in 4 weeks.
Right.
And also we didn't want to make another Dota clone or another StarCraft or like another AAA game. We just wanted to make something really simple and really our game. Like if you wanted to make a game, what sort of game would you make? Would you make a new? If I ask this question to you, what sort of game would you make if you had the chance?
It's an interesting question.
If you have, let's say this company gave you a lot of money, like, oh, make a game and make it your game. What sort of game would you make?
Wow, what a question. Tez, you get to go first.
Oh god.
I gotta think.
I would probably make a side-scroller shoot 'em up. Those were always some of my favorite games, like R-Type and Ikaruga and things like that.
It's a solid choice. Oh, what would I don't even know what I would.
Yeah, it's hard.
I guess I would probably take a different path. I think I would probably go for something along the lines of a fantasy RPG, without getting too technical about what I'd be looking for and trying to create, but somewhere along the lines of like a Japanese RPG, sort of like Final Fantasy, but built a bit differently. I don't know though. That's an interesting question. Huh.
If you would ask me the
Yeah. What would you?
Today, I think I would like, if I had an unlimited budget and like I wouldn't, if I didn't have any investors that cared for me to bring them a lot of money and stuff. If I just would make my own game, then I would make an MMO, but I think it would be really hard, like really aimed toward like the elite players, like the top 1% of the community, pretty much, like people who expect a real challenge, and like an esport MMO, like really competitive and really hard, because that's what I lack from games I play today. Is this competitive edge. Like I said, when I don't work or edit, I usually play like World of Warcraft or Diablo or stuff like that, and
Right.
I think it was catered before. It was catered more towards like people who expected a challenge.
Yeah.
Now it's more like mainstream and casual players. So I think I would make a game for those people who really wanted a challenge and to compete with other like elite players. So that's what I would make, I think.
I like that. Well, just because I'm absolutely obsessed with it, I will say that, and everyone in DA Sports will groan because I type in chat about it all the time. The Secret World is an interesting thing you might want to look at. It's more of a personal challenge, a mental challenge. Unfortunately, it's not so much of a PvP player against player, but it's player against environment, where you'll be expected to, they don't handhold you in anything, and you'll have to solve it. A regular quest will have you solve things solve Morse code. We'll have you read parts of Edgar Allan Poe's the Golden Bug to figure out a cipher to translate or to encrypt something else, another name you found earlier, into using that cipher to a password. And they do really sort of unusual things like that, where they expect people to use their thinking, and it's not just go kill this and get some experience and level up sort of thing. So, but that it sounds like it's a little bit different from what you're talking about. But anyway, outside of that, can you tell us more about Battlefield and the internship with that, and the trailers or videos you're doing with them?
Yeah. As part of the education, we have 30 weeks of internship. So I decided to apply to DICE because it's a Swedish company. I'd prefer not to move abroad, so I thought I would apply to them because they make game trailers. They have an in-house video department, so I thought, yeah, why not? So I sent in my gaming movies there, and they really liked it because, I mean, it's hard for them to find people that have worked both with editing and gaming. It's not that many people that actually have done both worlds, you know. I mean, if they hire like an editor, he needs to learn everything, like how games work and stuff. Right. So I think that's why they took me in, and I'm almost done there now. I'm gonna be there for a few more weeks, but it's been a really great journey. I've got the chance to work with really great people, really talented people. My mentor has been there for 10 years. He's made movies since like Battlefield 19, like the first Battlefield game, and games before that. So he really knows what he's doing. So I've learned a lot, and it's been a great experience.
So where do you go from here once the internship's finished? I take it it's back to school for a little bit longer.
No, actually, my school is finished, but I already have some job offers. The video editing world, so but it's nothing I can talk about because it's a bit secret.
Fair enough. But this is
But I have some. But I'm gonna start working full time at least with video games and editing.
So for you, this is really started as for both of you, it started as just a pastime, a hobby, and an enjoyment for a way to sort of get your hands in something new. And it sounds like you've really managed to turn it into a full-time career now, and still keep it within the. It sounds like you're still keeping it within the video game industry. Or that's the desire.
Yeah, I think I will actually visit both worlds, visit both the film and gaming community. I mean, usually even if I work full time, I usually do freelance work. It could be print, it could be commercials, it could be anything. I mean, I like working. I usually take on more work than I should. So well, takes a lot of my free time sometimes doing freelance stuff.
But if it's enjoyable and it's quality content, then everyone ends up happy in the end, even if you're probably a little burnt out.
Yeah, well, it's usually only like a week or two periods. Then it's like calm again. But I also like to go to the gym and work on stuff. I mean, you can't work if you work so much that you can't even do that, then it's too much. So I really like doing that. So
good. So you found the thing that you use to de-stress and make sure you do that.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Makes me think. It makes me think as well. Come up with good ideas and stuff.
Fantastic. Guys, if you've got any last questions, go ahead and submit them. And after we do our final four in just a second, we'll get the masks, and then we'll do shout outs, and we'll wrap up the show. But we're now at the final four, which is music, movies, books, food, starting with Tez. You're on my left, so you go first. We've got your favorite music.
Favorite music. I listen to, a lot of sort of electronic music, but I try to keep a lot of variety. Otherwise, I get too bored with what I'm listening to.
Right.
So, I'll listen to Daft Punk, and then the next thing will be some Creedence. It works. I promise. It works.
Just can't believe you.
But I think my favorite music right now is Pretty Lights and Infected Mushroom.
Huh.
Those are my top favorites. Whenever anything by them pops up in my playlist, I'm definitely not skipping it.
This is new to me, but I will give them a listen. If you have recommended it, it sounds like it's in high regard. Interesting.
Infected Mushroom has actually been in quite a few concert movies.
Huh.
It's been used a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't know that either. That's really interesting.
But it's always, music goes in periods in movies and stuff.
Right.
Sometimes it's melancholy and sometimes it's that. Yeah, it just keeps going.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Well, I have another reason to check it out. Or I probably might have actually heard some and not realized it. All right. Anyway, movies.
Movies. One of my favorite movies is The Prestige, which is a I can't even think of the name of the director now, which is really bad of me. Chris Nolan, the Batman movies, but he wrote and directed it. It's one of my favorite. It's a really slow movie, but it's sort of a slow boil the whole time. It's about rival magicians, and they start. It's set in the past, and they start recruiting Nikola Tesla to create devices for them to enhance their shows. And it has David Bowie as Tesla, so it's a pretty great movie.
Yeah, it is. You described it perfectly. It's interesting the way it does sort of takes time to. The pacing is pretty slow, but it does have that constant build up, and by the time you get to the end, it's incredibly satisfying.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
What about books? What about favorite books?
Favorite books. I'm a big fan of Arthur C. Clarke, of course, sci-fi stuff. Childhood's End is one of my favorite books. But I read a lot of. I don't really read a lot of nonfiction. I do like historical fiction though. That's really fun to me. There's books by Scott Card who wrote Ender's Game, which most people know of, but he wrote The Redemption of Christopher Columbus, and it's about it's an alternate history of Christopher Columbus, and that's really interesting. I always like any book that sort of plays with the what if concept.
Right.
So, and historical fiction obviously does that quite a bit.
Interesting. The Redemption of... Okay. Well, I'll add that to my list as well then. And last question for you before we go to shout-outs, but we'll do shout-outs at the end. Tez, favorite food?
Burritos.
Burritos?
Naturally, because I work at Chipotle. Yeah. But probably just steak, really. I love a good steak.
I would have thought you would have gotten sick of burritos working at Chipotle.
Well, Chipotle actually makes a damn fine burrito.
This is true.
So, and we have a lot of ingredients to change it up. It's not always the same thing. So, and I get free meals, so I kind of have to take advantage of it.
Oh, yeah. That would do it, too. You'd have to love burritos if you have them that often.
Yeah, if I went in there not loving burritos, I'd definitely learn to, just to save money on food.
Perfect. All right, well, we got Xenoq now to tell us about his Final Four, and we'll start with music.
Music, yes. I think I listen to a lot of trailer music actually. because those songs are usually pretty short, so I can just have a huge playlist with very short songs. So it's a lot of variety. I usually listen to like Two Steps from Hell, like immediate music, position music. All those are like they make trailer music for like feature films.
Okay.
But when it comes to normal music, I listen to like trance and well pretty much anything. But I really like trance and like of course I like Muse and stuff like that as well. I'm kind of an all-eater when it comes to music.
Not a bad thing at all. What about films, movies?
I actually have to agree with on The Prestige. It's a really good movie. I like it as well. It's probably in my top 5. I really like Christopher Nolan making movies. Like the Batman movies are all really good. But I think my top movie is probably The Rock. But it also comes because it contains one of my favorite compositors like Hans Zimmer. But he also makes music for Batman, so he's really good.
Hans Zimmer. Okay.
It's my favorite. So that's.
I have not seen that yet. I will have to go check that out, and I'll have to go check the composer too. I like soundtrack music, but I should know him, but I actually don't, so I will go give him a listen.
Yeah, I feel like I should have mentioned soundtrack music since half of my music collection is soundtracks, but
it's okay. Between the two of you, we got most of the bases covered already.
Yeah.
What about books? What about books for you, Xenoq?
I'm not really into books that much. I can understand why people like books. Personally, I haven't read that many books. I've read like Lord of the Rings. I've read some Game of Thrones books. Usually I read fantasy. I haven't read much other than that, apart from the mandatory stuff you read at school.
Right.
I prefer movies over books.
Fair enough. Perfectly valid. What about food? Favorite food, favorite dish?
Food really interests me.
That's good.
I'm quite a chef myself.
Oh, fantastic.
I don't work as a chef, but I really like cooking.
Yeah.
So I'm really good at making nice meats and stuff, preparing really good dishes. And also since I'm since I like design, I like how you present the food as well, like how you where you put what stuff is. Because I think that's really important as well. I mean, if you look at a dish, if the dish looks good, it's gonna taste better than if it was presented in a bad way. So yeah, but my favorite dish is obviously meat and like a good steak with red wine sauce, or something like that, or like carpaccio.
Is that your favorite meal to eat and to make, or are those two different things?
Probably both.
Okay, that's a solid choice. I'm not gonna argue with a choice like that. To end the show, we'll maybe start with Xenoq this time. Shout outs. Anyone you'd like to shout out to? People who want to follow you or keep up with what you're doing. Where can they? How can they do that?
I would like to shout out to Fesso, who's always been really supportive to my movies and like helping me out, and to all Shieldsside community members. And I would also like to thank Security, which is my World of Warcraft guild, for a very long time, for supporting me making WoW movies. And the last one goes to Catherine Johnson, who's been listening to this show and supporting me.
Perfect. And if anyone wants to, if people want to, keep up with what you're doing, keep up with your work, see where you're headed, is there any way for them to do that?
What did you say?
If anyone wants to keep up with what you're, the work that you're doing or what's coming up next for you, is there a way for them to sort of keep track of what's going on?
For the people playing Counter-Strike or Counter-Strike Go, I will start looking into making a Counter-Strike Go movie, like a really well-made one, because I'm really pumped for doing that, and they will notice there'll be a lot of. I don't have Twitter, which is a shame. I should probably get that, but I will make like a trailer which is like shown everywhere. So
Okay.
hopefully you will see it.
So that's what we should look out for next. Look out for the trailer next. All right. Perfect. Tez, shout-outs from you.
Well, obvious shout out to Dreadit and Test Alliance, particularly a lot of the other propaganda guys, Isis Korea, Sepro Jones, Jaffet, Jordan Damnation. They all do they do a lot of art stuff that I end up kind of roping them into doing, so I can use them in movies, logos and things like that, or just general art. And shout out to Romeo Squad, the undisputed best squad in Test, and Spurge Squad, the secret best squad in Test.
Tez, if people want to keep up with your videos, keep up with what's going on with you, how can they do that?
They can just go to the YouTube channel, Dreadit, MOT, Ministry of Truth. Every Eve-related video that I put out pretty much is going to end up there. So, and if I ever go off and do something else, I'll probably make a big deal about it on that channel as well.
There you go. All right, so for people who want to keep up with Xenoq, wait for his trailer when that comes out about the CSGO movie he wants to work on, or he is working on, trying to get going. And for Tez, check out the YouTube channel for Dreadit, which I thought we already posted here, maybe not, but we'll get it posted in the chat for anyone watching live. And easiest way to keep up with him there. Thank you both. I said initially it was going to be an hour, and that was a stupid idea. I should have got at least being an hour and a half. But thank you guys.
An hour and a half.
Yeah. Now, you know this job better than I do. I mean, I was like, yeah, we can do an hour. No, didn't happen. I mean, there's just you guys. There's a lot behind what you do. There's a lot that goes into what you do. There's a lot of history behind how you got into it, and I'm probably too curious for my own good, but I like to know about this stuff. So I'm really glad that both of you were to come down, from very different communities, but both doing similar things. It was really great to have a chance to sort of dive into that field, learn about how it's done, get a sense at least of how it's done and why you do it, and just sort of have that sort of communication across these different games is really cool. So I really appreciate you both taking the time to spend a good chunk of your day with us. So mad props. Thank you. And I'm trying to think of what else I'm trying to think. I don't think there's anything else. We will let everyone know for next week what we've got through our Twitter and through our Facebook. But I think actually that's all we got right now. So to everyone who stuck with us through and through, thank you so much. If you've got feedback, it's something we need to start doing more. If you have feedback, you've got comments, critiques, criticisms, would honestly love to hear them, because it's how we make our show better. I'll put our email in the chat. We'll also give you the Twitter's on there. You can just email me at Arnfoster and let me know too. But we would love to hear your thoughts on if you like this new format, if you'd like to see something different, if there be particular people you'd like to see on, particular combinations, and based on that feedback, we'll do our best to accommodate. So thank you.